Welcome back to Speak Up Queen, the podcast where we empower, uplift, and celebrate women who have reclaimed their voices to inspire others. Today, we are thrilled to welcome Shalini, I don't know how to say your surname, a dynamic leader and compassionate advocate for holistic wellness. With 20 years of experience in the technology field and a passion for community empowerment, Shalini wears many crowns, a certified trauma-informed yoga and meditation instruction, health coaching training, and Reiki energy healer. Through her dedication, Shalini has coached over 100 individuals in yoga, pranayama, career development, and wellness, all while raising over $1,000 for local nonprofits. As a panelist speaker in Charter I Public Schools, she inspired young girls to break barriers and pursue careers in STEM. Shalini's mission is rooted in guiding individuals to connect with their inner compass and foster deeper mind-body connections. Her vision extends to her podcast, where she empowers others with global insights into holistic wellness and self-care. Get ready for an inspiring conversation that will empower you to embrace your journey towards balance, wellness, and self-discovery. Let's welcome Shalini to Speak Up Queen.
Hi there. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be part of the show. And I'm sure the last name is a tough one. So I will say it. So it's Shalini Tagara.
Thank you so much because my Afrikaans brain
I
is,
know.
I don't know, I can't even say it in Afrikaans. I'm not going to say it in English, but thank you for helping me with
No
that.
worries. No worries.
What was the most challenging limiting belief you had to overcome? And how did breaking free from it help you reclaim your voice?
There's quite a few things that have happened, I think, in life's journey. Maybe, one of the examples I'll just pick is I came as an immigrant to the United States when I was 19. And that was, defying the odds only because I came from an Asian, Indian, very conservative family. So, coming so far away, taking a flight 20 some hours, was not easy. And it was not easy to convince my father that, I wanted to go to study and, be independent because growing up, I had seen a lot of women who didn't quite have the opportunities, right, to just work or to study more or really to discover themselves. And I saw that, even with my own mother, because, she was a homemaker and she went to college. And, those days, just, having a college degree was a big deal. And she actually had one in English literature. She never got a chance to work, but she is an awesome, poem writer. Like she, writes a lot of like, language and English literature. She's so good at it, but she never had a chance to explore any of it. And so she was a big motivation for me to, go discover myself and, just figure out my journey. So I would say that was actually one of my, challenging moments if I think about it now, because at that age, I honestly didn't know what I was doing.
Wow.
And it was hard.
Yes. Especially moving
Yeah.
to another country, like,
Yes.
and luckily
Yes.
we learned English when we were in school. But for
Exactly.
some people who don't know even English, it can really be hard. I know exactly. It's a leaving your family behind, starting this
Yes.
whole journey alone. Oh, well, I've got my husband and my son with me, but still we are alone. It
Yep.
is still no family. And it's not so
Yep.
easy to just get aboard and quickly go and visit or give them just a hug or something like that. So yeah, I can really relate to how hard it can be.
Yes.
Can you share a moment when someone's words or actions make you feel small and how you found the strength to rise above it?
Wow, I think there were a lot of moments. I mean, I would lie if there was just one, because, even just at work, right? I mean, I've been in the tech industry. I'm currently in Microsoft as a director, right? So I've, been in the tech world for a long time. And, many years ago when I started, it was definitely male dominated, right? I mean, it's improving now, but there's still ways to go. So I remember a lot of times, walking into meetings where I felt like, oh, I'm not heard, or, it was just like, oh yeah, we know this, but then later somebody else brings up the idea and that was okay and it was acceptable, right? So, I mean, there were a lot of moments like that. Work, I'm thinking about work as an example, but just even in life in general. And, what really helped me, I think, was again, lucky enough, I had good mentors. I had women leaders who were mentors, and I always looked up to them, right? Because I saw how confident they were when, they were in meetings, or when I used to hear a lot of, just speeches, or, online. And but I used to observe a lot of women, and I noticed, wow, you can actually make yourself heard if you exhibit that confidence in you, right? Because when people see that you're trying to say something, but you're maybe not loud enough, or maybe you're just shying away, it's easy for them to just override you, right? And so I learned that because I used to talk to a lot of my mentors, and I used to say, hey, I'm facing this situation and I don't know how I can get out of it, right? And so that coaching really helped. And they gave me a few strategies of like how I can actually make myself heard, right? And if it doesn't go, then say it again, right? But be strong enough and show confidence when you say something so people would actually want to listen. And so for me, that was just an example that comes to my mind, right? And it's happened quite a few times. So that's really what helped is, trying to find your voice, show that confidence, show that you know what you're saying, and make your point.
I love it. I do, because women needs to know that they can be safe in a workplace and that they have a
Yeah.
voice. They have a voice, definitely have a voice, which is so nice because the next question is about what safety resources, spaces, or tools have been most impactful to your healing journey.
Sorry, what tools?
What safety resources,
Oh,
spaces,
resource.
or tools have been most impactful for your healing journey?
Oh, I mean, I think there's been a lot of different resources, right? And for me specifically, because there was a point in time where my kids were much younger, and I was trying to juggle work, career success, children, and my spouse was also traveling a lot for work. So it was like put all of that in the mix, right? So for me, my healing journey really started at that point because I felt like there were moments where, I mean, I would be, just not saying the truth if I said there were moments where I used to cry because I didn't know how to handle situations. I felt so overwhelmed. I didn't have family around, so there was no support, right? And if I spoke to friends or somebody else, I felt like I would be judged, right? So there was just so many emotions going on. And so for me, really my healing journey, I would say, really started at that time because I started looking out for resources, right? And I said, okay, can I go to fitness classes? And, can I go do something else, right? Can I join like women's circles? Could I go figure out ways where I could, get that energy going, right, in me? And it was just the perfect timing. And there's this thing, which is, when it's the right time, the universe just makes it happen. Because I had a friend of mine who said, hey, there's this yoga class that I've been going. Do you want to come try it out? And I mean, to be honest, I wasn't sure if that was my thing because I'd seen all these awesome social media posts and I said, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this. But she's like, no, just come give it a shot. We'll see how it goes. And I said, all right. So, that's really how I started. Yeah, I would say as part of my healing journey. And, again, first few classes, I felt so embarrassed because I was like, wow, I can't do half of the things here, right? But I kept going. Again, I think I've always been this person who's been resilient, who's been persistent with anything. So I don't give up so easily. So I said, all right, I'm going to keep trying. So I continued and, a couple of classes down and I think over a year, I did like meditation, a little bit of breath work. I tried all of those things. And then I said, wow, actually, this is helpful. Like, this is healing me because, I felt like I could take that back home. And anytime I felt, stressed or with the kids or so many things, right? I could just step back And I knew how even taking a couple of moments just helped me recenter myself. And that was so important because I didn't know a better way to quickly disconnect, from that crazy high emotion roller coaster to like, okay, a little calmer state where I can think before I say something. So for me, I mean, I would say that was my biggest resource in terms of how I even started a healing journey, just without really even knowing that I was healing. I mean, to be true, but it took a while for me to realize that, wow, I was actually feeling better. I was actually just slowly healing.
Yes. Well, you are literally, I think, the third person today or woman today who tried yoga to do, who is doing yoga. And I'm like, maybe it's the universe telling me because I realized that I've got still a lot of anger in my inside of me. And I'm like, I need to go on a journey again. Or not again, but to fix, not to fix, to heal that side
Yeah.
of me.
Yeah.
And all I hear the whole time today is yoga and yoga and yoga. And I'm like, well, I, Steph,
Yeah.
I
But
would,
there are different, yeah, but there's also like, again, just, if you want me to talk a bit, because I know this is a topic also I'm very passionate about, I can go on and on. But, even when you think about yoga, right, there is different, pieces of yoga, right? Because it's not like the traditional Western definition really talks about yoga as, just physical poses or doing the physical exercises that we do in classes, right? But if you think about yoga, it's really more than that because in the traditional yoga definition in India, like thousands of years ago, defined by whom we call the master of yoga is Patanjali. So the way he really described yoga was, really 8 different limbs or 8 different parts of a definition of yoga. And if I take a step back, right, really, even the word yoga, it comes from the Sanskrit word. So, Sanskrit is one of the most ancient languages back in India. And you will hear Sanskrit use a lot of the yoga terms, the poses as well, because that's the language that was used. And so, really, the term yoga itself came from the word yuj, which means yoking or a union or joining of the mind, body, and the spirit. So that's really what even yoga meant, or the word meant. Okay, so now if you think about the 8 categories of the way it was actually defined, the first 2 really talk about something called yamas and niyamas, which are just moral values, just one of within yourself, second, you with the outer world. So, like non-violence, right? I mean, speaking the truth, community service, right? Being of help to others. So it's all about the values, right? And then there are values about just yourself internally, right? Which is being content and connecting with a power that's beyond you, right? Expressing gratitude. So these are, again, values just within yourself that you develop. So those are really the first 2. And then you kind of talk about the third one, which is, it goes into pranayama or like your breath work, right? And again, breath work is, this is a very deeper concept, right? Because pranayama, again, prana is your life force, which is breath. And ayama, again, the Sanskrit word, is just regulating your breath. Like, how do you expand your breath? Because most of us are only breathing here, which is, just the sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight. We're always there. But we're never really using our full potential when we breathe, which is activating the parasympathetic nervous system. So when we get better at pranayama or breathing techniques, and there's so many of techniques, again, right? That's a whole different topic in itself. But when you work on those breathing techniques, you're actually expanding your lung capacity and your breathing, which automatically activates that side of your nervous system. So you're just more calmer. You know when to control, when to regulate your emotions. And I think that's so important. I really wish, children in schools were taught this when they were, younger, because I really feel like, I wish I learned a lot of these, when I was younger, honestly, right? But anyway, so again, going back, so anyway, so that's one of those, right? And so we covered the first two really around values. Actually, I jumped to pranayama, which is the fourth, but the third one is asanas, or the physical practices. So when you go to yoga classes, that's really what most people think the definition of yoga is. But honestly, out of the eight, that's only one part of it. So the physical pose is only one part of it. Okay, so that's number three. That's the asana, the physical aspect. Number four is pranayama, which is the breathing techniques. Okay. Then number five, you come to something called, again in Sanskrit, pratyahara, okay, which means you're withdrawing your senses to connect inwards. Okay, so what that simply means is you're not distracted by external influences all the time. I mean, even just a simple basic example is digital detox, which we all need from our gadgets because we're so hooked to it, right? So that is what it really truly means. It's just as a basic example, that's what it is. But there's a deeper meaning, right? Because when you eventually are able to shut down external validations, you're able to shut down somebody else telling you you're not worthy, somebody else telling you you're not good enough, right? You kind of withdraw from all of that external into really trying to find meaning within yourself. So that is really number five. Six is something called dharana, or just one pointed concentration or focus. And I'll tell you why, because this is your next or your first step towards meditation. Because when you practice dharana or one pointed focus, I'll take a simple example, right? People practice something called visualization as a form of meditation. Maybe they keep a candle in front of them because we're all distracted. I mean, we're humans, right? So there's a monkey mind. So if you ask somebody to just sit there for 5 minutes, close their eyes, not everybody can do it. Right? So they need something visually to just even focus, right? And that could be breath, because breath, the way, at least when I teach it, breath is the most simple way of starting some form of meditation. Because when you focus on breath, your mind automatically calms down from all the wandering thoughts. So anyway, so dharana or focused meditation, concentration is one. Then seven, you go to dhyana, which is meditation. That's where you get to a little longer than maybe 2 or 3 minutes because you're able to sit in silence meditation. And then the last state, or number 8, as defined in yoga, is called samadhi, which is bliss or enlightenment. Okay, that's a very deep concept. I mean, it's not something that, it's just easily explained in words, because if you think about all of, the Indian, like there are several saints, right? Several realized souls, even Buddha, for example, right? Or you think about, Jesus, or you think about anybody, right? They are at that stage where they're considered enlightened beings because they've kind of passed all of this, right? And so that's the ultimate state. Again, all I can say is all of the other things you practice maybe will lead you to that someday in this lifetime, or maybe not, but at least you walk towards the path. But anyway, sorry, we completely digressed, but I mean, that is what truly yoga is. And I don't think many people have that understanding.
Not at all. So I that's why I'm like sitting like I like learning new stuff. And like I said, yoga might be something that I can try, because yes, there's so many resources out there, and not everything is gonna work for me, or I might not even like it. But at least I'm gonna say I'm gonna try, and I'm gonna see
Exactly.
if it's not a resource that I can use in my life, because that is what Speak Up Queen is all about, is sharing resources, sharing our stories and
Exactly.
how we are going through things. And to each woman is listening to this episode, might just go and try, and maybe you have tried it, and like I said, there's so many resources. Try and I know there is a I don't know what the saying is, try everything and keep the good or hold the good or something like that. Can't remember that saying. It's an Afrikaans one, but today the English it's like I am arguing in my brain with my Afrikaans brain and my English brain, and then it's like it's English today, not Afrikaans. It's English. So it's like anyway. What was
Yeah.
sorry.
No, no, sorry. Hopefully that helped. I know
Okay.
I guess I just got very passionate about the topic because it's just I can talk about it, but it's just one of those things I think, again, I've just discovered through my own journey, right? And it has helped me, right, serve a lot of, purposes at different points of my journey.
That's really I'm gonna go dive. I'm gonna dive deep into that one because I
Yes,
need
definitely.
something to calm my anger. Anyway,
Absolutely. You can totally reach out to me. I teach breathwork to a lot of people, but yes, absolutely.
what was the first step you took from feeling silence to finding your voice, and how did that step change your life?
I think one of the things I'm just thinking through here, right, which was when I actually applied for a job, and when I walked into one of my interviews, and it was interesting. Actually, I'm going to take a step back because the job description, okay, was completely, I mean, it wasn't completely different to my experience, but there was only bits and pieces of my experience where I thought maybe was a match, right? But my husband, and maybe this is when the first time I ever realized how a woman thinks a little different from, a male, right? Because my husband looked at that description and he was like, just apply for this. And I said, no, I only see one or two job description details that I even match. I don't think, I'm even going to get this job. He's like, oh, just go for it. Nothing hurts. We'll see, if you get called for the interview. And trust me, I just listened to him. I actually just applied, but I was so hesitant because I kept saying, I don't think it's going to work. He said, just do it. And I applied. And I actually got called for an interview. And I was so shocked because I was like, oh my God, I'm going to go to this interview. I know I'm not going to get this because I just don't think it's the right fit or I have the right skill sets. Actually, not even a fit. It was like, do I have the right skill sets? I was questioning myself, right? And I think that was always just because of living in maybe self-doubt, just, thinking I don't know, I don't have enough, all of those, just those crazy thoughts in my mind. And to top it all, I was 7 months pregnant. Okay. And I said, okay, I'm going to walk in to interview. And actually, this was in Microsoft. And I was going to walk into that interview and I was 7 months pregnant. And I wasn't sure if I had the skill sets for this job. I said, oh my God, I must be crazy. Okay. And my husband said, just give it a shot. It's all right. If you don't get it, you don't get it. Right. So that really helped. And I walked into the room and I see like 5 men in the interview panel. Okay. And I walk in with my stomach like a 7 month pregnant. And I'm like, oh my God, somebody is going to be looking at me. Right. And actually go to that interview. And I guess I was just myself with the questions they were asking, all of that. Right. It was pretty simple. I just went through all of that, talked about my experience. I talked about, yes, I don't have some skill sets, but I'm willing to learn. I'm curious, all of that. Right. And then I walk out and the first thing I told my husband, oh my God, I think they all saw my tummy. And I think, like for one, there are a few skill sets they talked about, which I don't have. And I just did it because he told me. And on top of it, with looking at my tummy, I doubt it, right? And then I think it was like 2 or 3 days passed and I'm like, oh God, yeah, forget about this, right? And I get a call. Oh, trust me, I can never forget that moment because I was overjoyed when the recruiter called and she said, hey, by the way, they've decided to give you an offer. And I was like, oh my God, did they not see it? Did they see it? Then they still decided to give me the job because they saw something else, which I didn't see in myself. Right. And that's when I actually felt a moment of reflection just about myself. Right. Because I was thinking, wow, how did I just not see that confidence in myself? How did I not think it was okay to try, right? And give it a shot. I mean, if it wasn't for my husband, I probably would have never even applied. But why was that hard? Right? So I think that was a moment where I felt like, I really silenced my voice because luckily I had a supportive voice which said, just go for it. But if I did not have that supportive voice, I'm pretty sure I would have silenced and suppressed my voice. And I would have lost out on an amazing opportunity and an amazing company. And so that's one thing I've learned and I would love to share with the women who are listening, right? Which is just sometimes give it a shot, right? Just don't wait to evaluate, reevaluate your worth. Because I feel as women, we get hung up on that. And I find that so different when I talk to my male friends. They don't think so much. They're like, just do it. Yeah, you get it or you don't, just do it. But we go through these cycles. Oh my God, what if I get rejected? Oh my God, what if I don't feel this? No, just go for it. And sometimes you don't know what your value is until you put it out there and other people see it. So that's one thing I would say for me, that's an example that just stuck in my head about, silencing your voice. And just for me, it turned out to be a supportive voice that helped me. But that's what I would say.
And that is again for women who might be who don't feel that they have a voice or that they have no self-worth. That's we as women, each and every speaker on Speak Up Queen has communities. We all create safe spaces for women to heal, grow, and thrive. And if you don't believe in yourself yet, we believe in
Exactly.
you. We will be that because some of these women doesn't have amazing husbands like we do. Because my husband is like, let's just do it, do this, do this. Yes, if I get a crazy idea, he's like, yes, let's go for it. And I'm like, it's a crazy idea. It's like, well, let's just try it. And not everyone are so privileged to have that safety and that
Exactly.
support system in their lives. But that is why we are here today. We are creating safe spaces for women, um, so that they can know that we are cheering them on. We
Yeah.
are believing in them. We can see their
Yes.
worth. Even if they can't see it now, we see you. We feel you. We love you. And you're just amazing. And just do it anyway because you've got a group of powerful women worldwide. And I'm going to say worldwide because COVID has been bad. COVID really hit and hurt a lot of people. But one positive thing was we all got online and we all found online communities. And that's the communities, it's me, people that you've never met, that is your
Yeah.
biggest cheerleaders in the world. That and that is just amazing about social media is good and also bad, but you can find communities where you can feel where you belong because not everyone belong in one group. We are
Exactly.
different people. We are, I mean, each in every episode, each woman showing up on this on this show is just amazing and from different backgrounds and from different generations, mind
Mm-hmm.
you. And it's just amazing how we can combine and we can I like I said, I just want to write down notes, but
Yeah.
I'm lucky enough. That's why we do it like this, so that we can go and listen while we are walking or doing something, and then do it. So yeah, it's just I love it.
Yeah. Yes, yeah. I mean, it's just amazing how I feel like the whole world has shrunk, right? Because we're able to connect with so many people, right? And I mean, I feel the same because I mean, in my introduction, you talked about, the wellness podcast, right? Because that's how it also started because I've been interviewing like wellness practitioners around the globe, and I'm learning so much because I'm talking to people from all over the country, or all, sorry, not even country, all over the planet, where there's so much to learn. I mean, God, I feel like I'm just at the tip of the iceberg, and I feel like I have so much to still go and learn and explore.
What's one powerful lesson you've learned about self-worth, and how do you carry it with you as you continue to grow and inspire others?
Wow. I will say one thing I've learned about self-worth is don't let anyone else tell you your worth. That was one thing I think I took away from a lot of my experiences at work, well, raising the kids, with everything else, right? Which is, I mean, it's good to get feedback because, I mean, we all need feedback to grow, but there's a difference between getting feedback versus, just listening to external validation and judgment, which you don't need, right? And as women, I feel we're more vulnerable and susceptible to that. And that's one thing I would say I've learned as just, a tool, for just valuing myself and to really figure out my self-worth is to know when to stop listening to others and listen to yourself and find your own value because you're unique and everybody's unique. I mean, we all bring different strengths, we bring, different things to the table, and you can't let somebody else tell you, you're not good enough.
If you could tell your 17-year-old self one thing, what would it be and why?
I would say be curious, be persistent. Because I think those were two things that at least helped me in my journey, right? Later on in life. I wish, I knew that when I was much younger, right? And could have been much stronger, but it's all right. I think we all go through, life and journey, and that's what the learning and the fun of learning is, right? So, but when I look back, I mean, that's what I would tell. I mean, that's what I tell my girls, and that's what I would tell somebody much younger is, always be curious because there's so much to learn. And if you don't have a growth mindset, and if you don't put yourself in uncomfortable situations, sometimes you'll never know your strength. So that to me is definitely number one. And second is being persistent, like not giving up, right? Don't give up too soon. Some things may take 6 months, some things may take a year, but it's the consistency, it's discipline. You need to be sustaining when you're trying to do something, right? And for me, again, this was much later in life, right? But, when I learned, for example, yoga, right? I could have just said in a month or two, like, oh my gosh, I don't think I can, really get to these poses. But I said, if so many people are doing it, and when so many people have done this for like 10, 15 years, there must be something to this, right? So I continued, I persisted. And today, I love it, right? So it's just one of those things. You never know what your strength is and where your journey is going to take you. So that's the other thing I would say.
How do you set boundaries to protect your energy and peace? And what have you learned from this practice?
Setting boundaries. Okay. So when I think about, again, balancing or juggling work and kids and, career success and wanting to grow, right? I feel like setting boundaries is important because, I mean, in work, for example, right? When I was, at least when the kids were much younger, now they're a lot older, but when they were younger, right? I had to set my boundaries at work. I had to say, hey, after like 4:30, I'm going to block my calendar because I need to go pick up my kids from, daycare, from school, right? But that was setting boundary. It was setting the right expectations with my manager, right? Saying, I'm going to block my calendar. I'm not going to be available, right? So that was, again, an example of setting boundaries. And in personal life, again, setting boundaries also meant balancing your social life versus balancing family time versus balancing kids, right? Because there are friends, there are expectations, right? You're going to show up to this party, you're going to be here, you're going to do this. But I think I always found a way to draw those boundaries to say, hey, sorry, my kids have an event. Hey, sorry, my kids have to do this. Or, hey, sorry, Friday evenings or family time. So, I'm not going to be able to make it, right? So I always felt it was so important to set those boundaries because trust me, you can be burnt out very easily. And many people I know are burnt out because they're just not good at setting their boundaries. they're just not good at organizing their time and prioritizing what's important because they can easily get swayed away by somebody telling you to do something, right? And I think that's where most people, I feel, go into the stage of, burnout or like, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like sleeping only 3 hours a day or 4 hours a day. But I feel like,
So big, and I'm like,
that is,
oh, I am lacking a bit of boundaries because that's really overburn is, and I never thought about it that way. That it's because I should have, when I started this, I should have kept to do my routine because I know my body can't handle five,
exactly.
3 to 6 hours of sleep, but yet I decided to stand up at 3:30 every morning and go to bed at 10 at night. And I've been doing it for the last 4 weeks. Luckily it's just 1 week left, but then I've just changed everything in my schedule this time because I was like, yes, the mission was 100 episodes in 6 weeks. I mean,
Yeah,
I've 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 reached high, and but I do realize now that I still need to
that's
I still need to balance everything, and I can't pour out of an empty cup. Can't.
exactly. Yep, you're right. And many times, right, you can't bite more than you can chew. And I think we forget that. So we sign up for too much without understanding our body, our ability, right? Thinking that, oh my God, I'm so cool if I'm able to do 100 things, but you don't realize what you're sacrificing or compromising doing it, right? And that's why again, it goes to external validations or what is important versus just trying to figure out your own balance and your own inner journey, right? I think that's important.
And your body tells you when something
Oh yeah,
is not right. Your body is like,
exactly.
it's telling
Yep.
you in symptoms. Oi,
Yes.
you are abusing me. Stop. It's like,
Exactly. So you have your signs.
yes, I do. Shalini, how do you define thriving today, and what mindset shifts or practices help you embrace that definition?
Wow, that's a deep question. Thriving. Okay, so I'm sure it's very subjective because what is thriving to somebody, right, would probably not mean thriving, right, to someone else. So for me, I think really thriving personally is when I feel like I'm in balance, like when I'm in control of what I'm doing day to day, right? Whether that is work, whether that's family, kids, home, social calendar, whatever that is, right? I feel I'm thriving when I'm able to balance all of it, right? In a way where I'm not compromising my wellness or I'm not compromising my self care. So to me, that's the definition of thriving. And that's when I feel I'm personally thriving. So I'm sure that's very subjective, right? Because I mean, everybody has a different definition. But again, like I said before, and how do you get to that thriving state is when you take control and you define your priorities, organize your time, right? And set your boundaries.
The last question. What made you decide to be featured on Speak Up Queen, and how does it feel knowing that there's a safe space for women to share their stories and inspire others?
So what do I want to be featured as?
Now, what made you decide to be featured on Speak Up Queen?
Oh, gotcha.
And
Yes.
how does it feel knowing that there's a safe space for women to share their stories and inspire others?
Sure. I think, as soon as I read about Speak Up Queen and I, read that it was about inspiring other women, I felt, again, as a woman, and like I talked about just generations, right? And what I had seen growing up, where women didn't quite have all of that opportunity, right? And when I see myself, right? I mean, of course, there's a lot to do, but I still feel very humbled and proud from, where I came from and what I've accomplished and where I'm at today, right? And I feel like, just inspiring others, right? And hoping somebody can pick something from this conversation and where I can share and help somebody, I think would be the most fulfilling thing, for me personally. And that's why I was really excited and, wanting to be part of the Speak Up Queen conversation today.
Well, thank you so much, Shalini, for sharing your powerful and inspiring story with us today. And your journey is a reminder of the strength and courage it takes to heal, grow, and thrive. To everyone tuning in, remember your voice and your story have the power to inspire and create change. So if today's episode resonates with you, don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, and share it with someone who needs to hear this today. So until next time, Queens, keep speaking up and embrace your power.